totem. Hi, Zizaran here with another video for 3.17, and this is not a build guide, but more of a build theory video, and this is for Winter Orb Totems. And this is not a build I've played, it's just a lot of people were asking about Winter Orb, and I started looking at it, and I was like, can we make Winter Orb decent? And I started playing with it, and it's not like solid enough that I want to like really recommend it as a build, but I wanted to just share my approach and what I was looking at, and it does look pretty decent. So Winter Orb is like a skill that it did get a buff. It got like a 10-12% more damage, specifically while channeling. Totem is losing some damage, but Winter Orb itself is getting buffed by 50% more frequency, which is 25% more damage. So it should be pretty interesting, but it's a skill that like gains more damage while you're casting it, and then it like kind of like Blade Vortex hovers over you and fires. But for totems, they're always channeling, which is kind of interesting. So let's look a little bit at it. So this is not going to be like in-depth like my other build guides. It's more of, you know, I don't have a particular thing for leveling. I could probably level with Winter Orb totems from pretty early. Very bare bones. So more for advanced players. I want to make sure we don't bait any new players into this. This isn't something that I'm necessarily even going to try myself, but we had a lot of people asking if I could look at Winter Orb, and it looks solid enough that I feel comfortable posting the PoB for advanced players to look at. So I'm only estimating an overlap of 4 Winter Orbs, especially with Dying Sun. You might be able to get quite a lot more, but at the very minimum 3. And so this is per totem, and we do have 5. So, you know, we're going to be looking at a damage of at least 1.7. We'll show the gear as well. I do not have a step-by-step skill tree. So this is crit. Obviously, wouldn't level as crit. And this is using Winter Orb. It's using Frost Bomb, Hatred, Determination, and Skitterbots. And I think you would need to use either a Screaming Essence of Loathing or maybe Shrieking on either a helmet or a chest, or get some sort of reservation somewhere else. Other than that, you could probably drop Skitterbots and maybe get anything else. I don't know. Maybe you want Vitality or Clarity instead of Skitterbots, because you're going to be very low on mana. Now, our mana cost is pretty low, so you could also just get minus mana cost on your rings and amulet. Other than that, we have also Flame Dash. We have Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark, you want to be careful with the level because we have very little dex. You're going to need to get that on gear. Then we have a decent amount of armor, and I haven't even put on flasks or anything. Gear wise, we'll look through that now. This is a pretty durable one, especially seeing as flat damage to spells is getting massively buffed newly. Shield is kind of way worse than what you would have, but I would probably try to get spell suppression shield, and then it's probably around this level that you would have, because spell suppression is so strong. You would love to fit it in the build. Kind of hard with the soul mantle, and soul mantle might be a little expensive as well. And then I would try to get spell suppression on all my other gear. Probably do the evasion boots that can have spell suppression as well. If I didn't do a spider silk robe, I'd probably try to use a shaper armor. But spider silk robe, soul mantle, as you can see, and we've removed that, it does not have the 1 additional totem. That's sad, but it is still very strong because it's still a 7-link armor once it is 6-linked, and more importantly, it inflicts hexes on you. And it's very, very easy through Crusader rings, which kind of later game now, and you can get it from Expedition and stuff. With the caster quality catalyst, it's fairly easy to get your curse immunity, or rather 100% reduced curse effect, so that you're just getting a bunch of damage. I'm currently calculating my damage with 6 curses on you. Obviously, you can have more than that as well, so you do get more damage than what we're estimating. Other than that, pretty basic gear. Crit enchant, these are huge, also very easy to get. +1. Honestly, I think the amulet's probably the spiciest, and you could anoint more spell suppression if you need to. You will get better rings than this more likely. It's very easy to do with Reforged Caster, and I would recommend doing the Caster Catalyst. You want both cast speed and you want curse effect. The prefixes are especially less important for softcore, but should be pretty easy to roll. Very strong. The belt is very whatever. So for clusters, a lot of these are fairly rare. Blanketed Snow is pretty hard to roll, and Blast Freeze isn't the easiest either. But you know, just getting pretty much anything on a Large cluster is fine. You could also skip the large if you can't roll a good one, but I would just keep Reforged cold until I get a good one. But what I would really want to get is Sleepless Sentries, so that you always have Onslaught. That is very, very big. And the other node is fine. I would use this as a 1-stat just for Onslaught. Other than that, I would use the Silver Flask. Rain of Splinters, this is really, really good for additional projectiles. And what's strong about this build is that Winter Orb will overlap. That's why we use greater multiple projectiles as well. And then we're using self-flagellation. So from this right now, I put in a 19% just in case you don't get a 20. Would be getting 120% increased damage. I feel like I mostly have 8 or 9 curses. You would be getting even more slightly. So I feel like this build can fairly easily get to 2 million damage. It doesn't really have any crazy defense. It's kind of have like okay sustain. With totems up, it'll have some life regen, like 400 or 500. And you can probably get to 5.5, maybe 6k life. So definitely not the craziest build I've ever looked at. I thought it looked fairly interesting, and I know a lot of people want to stay away from meta builds. So I would love to hear if people try this. I would say it's a bit of a risky starter, but it does look like it should be able to hold its own. Obviously, totems, you have a lot of safety, and like you can just run around. And you know, you can keep upgrading the gear. There's a lot of room for improvement here. There's no notes or anything. It's just a build theory idea. And I thought it looked pretty cool. And if you get a Dying Sun on this, that should be really good. Then you're looking at 5, 6, 7. You have 9 or 10 projectiles. They can overlap as well if you're lucky. So really, really cool. Now, obviously, this is really nice compared to Selfcast because they specifically buffed the while channeling thing. So if you channel up to max and then run, you didn't really get buffed compared to last thing. So still good for Headhunter builds, but you know, it doesn't really help. But for this build, really, really nice. So hopefully you guys like videos like this as well. Let me know if I should keep doing like slightly more low effort guides like this. Obviously, this is not intended for new players. It's very much less high quality than my other builds. But yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway. And let me know if anyone's going to play this. And if you find any tips or tricks that you can improve the build. This isn't something I've looked a ton at. But either way, thanks for watching. Good luck in 3.17. Sub if you liked the video. But more importantly, try to die less than I do.